From calling out people in the audience for being drunk to accusing the ATP of corruption, Nickkyrgios is known for some of the most outrageous stunts in tennis. No wonder he's called the Aussie bad boy. Here are Nick's biggest blow-ups ever. This first one is a pretty recent incident. Do you remember when he got pissed while playing Andy Murray? Kyrgios often resorts to outbursts of aggression, emotional breakdowns, and racket destruction. When he was facing Andy Murray in the semifinals of the Stuttgart, something similar happened. Murray squeaked off a victory in a tense opening set. By the start of the second set, though, everything had come crashing down on Nickkyrgios. The Aussie seemed out of it, and he was often disagreeing with someone in the crowd. What happened was pure chaos. There was nothing, though, that we hadn't seen before. On the court, Nick has had temper tantrums before. His favorite thing to do during these fits is to destroy his racket, and that's precisely what happened here. He later explained that a racist spectator's comments triggered the incident. He made a few mistakes that allowed Murray to win easily. Nick lost the match against the British player 6-2 in the second set and was visibly upset as he walked off the court. Something obviously happened to Nickkyrgios that caused him to absolutely break down, since he never plays that badly. Later, Murray was kind enough to encourage Nick despite his on-court rudeness.
What a battle between the two of them. Kyrgios beats his good buddy for the first time at the sixth attempt. But take nothing away from Andy Murray's efforts. They were considerable. They were in.
This next one was equally chaotic. Next up is a blow-up at Shanghai Masters that cost him a lot. This one stunned a lot of people out there because of all the consequences the Aussie had to face. In the second round of the 2016 Shanghai Masters, Kyrgios was hit with a fine that was far higher than the one he had previously received in the previous year, and they were all really outrageous. This time, it was during his match with Alexander Zverev that he was accused of tanking. Kyrgios was penalized $32,900 with an additional $13,127 for willful incompetence. Ouch! I can only imagine the rage Nick must have built inside of him for all those accusations and fines. He was also fined $1,969 for his unsportsmanlike conduct and $6,563 for verbally abusing a spectator. But we really don't blame the authorities for these two fines, because he did kind of lose his cool a little. After fines were handed out, an 8-week ban from the competition was also imposed. Damn, the guy really needs to learn how to calm down, or sooner or later he's going to end up losing all his savings by paying fines and penalties. Now this next one is a chaotic scene where the umpire was on the receiving end of his rage. Yep, I'm talking about the Cincinnati Masters match. Nickkyrgios' long-standing rivalry with tournament umpire Fergus Murphy finally came to a head after an explosive performance at the Cincinnati Masters. Now, this was easily one of his most memorable outbursts because it ended up costing the Australian star 167,000 Australian dollars. In the ending moments of the second set, Kyrgios lost his cool and never recovered. He ended up shattering 2 rackets and apparently calling the umpire an effing tool after being denied a restroom break. Ouch! Nick should have seen the consequences of this one coming. After all, what else did he expect would happen if he called the umpire a tool? Back then, the player's annual salary was $113,000, so the fine was equal to 10% of that amount. Because of their past together, Kyrgios referred to Murphy as the worst ref in the game hands down throughout the match. In addition, he said, "Every time I play, he's doing some foolish shit every time."
The worst, hands down. Every single time I play, he's doing some every time.
And because he couldn't keep a hold of his anger, the Aussie was given a code violation. And it didn't even end there. When the umpire told Kyrgios he couldn't go to the restroom during the changeover, he stormed out to the locker room and slammed his rackets against the wall in frustration. Anyway, this next incident happened at the US Open, and the world had its jaws open in disbelief. It was Nick's match against Karen Khachanov. A 5-set loss against Karen in the quarterfinals of the US Open was enough to knock Nick from the tournament after 3 hours and 39 minutes of play. 7-5, 4-6, 7-5, 6-7, 7-3, 6-4. Khachanov won, and that obviously didn't sit right with the Aussie. Kyrgios returned to his seat after shaking hands with the chair umpire, but he had a lot of rage built up, and it had to come out. He crushed his racket by smashing it 3 times on the ground, and then he tossed it into the concrete court. Despite the plainly bent state of the racket, Kyrgios continued to smash it as if it was an outlet for his anger and nothing more. And then, once he couldn't break it anymore, he went and got a new racket, but ended up breaking that as well. During a press conference, the Aussie star said his poor play had left him feeling disheartened and that he was disappointed in himself. Plus, he had recently won against world number 1 Daniil Medvedev, so this loss hit him a little harder. Luckily for him, his opponent was pretty understanding. Kachanov, when questioned about the racket incident, said he understood Kyrgios' perspective.
I mean, it's painful. I mean, I think it hurts. I think for him, or it would be the same for me if I would lose that match, you know.
Kyrgios had shattered rackets previously, and he has done it many times already at that same event. On facing Hugo and Lorenzo in the first rounds of doubles play, Kyrgios and his doubles partner Kokkinakis threw their rackets. After Kyrgios dropped it, Kokkinakis was the calmer one, and he even helped his partner pick it up. Up next is the time the Aussie was mad because someone wouldn't shut up. It's time he ranted to a Wimbledon umpire. After just the third game of his match against Paul Jubb, Nickkyrgios lost his cool and yelled at the referee because of the distraction of the crowd. On the second changeover, the Aussie continued his rant by calling one of the line officials a snitch. Throughout the first 3 games of his opening round encounter at Wimbledon, Kyrgios looked to be distracted by a spectator in the stands. After tolerating it for a while, he then had outbursts against a fan directed at the umpire, Maria Cicic. He sat down on serve at 1-2 in the first set and shouted, "You can't effing decide to talk to me in the middle of the point when I'm about to do a backhand. It can't be happening, bro." He then added that he is no one to stop them from watching the play, but they should have the common courtesy to not be speaking and shouting in the middle of the point. And it didn't even end there. Frustrated at being broken when serving for the opening set at 5-3, the former semifinalist smacked a ball off of the court and was warned for ball abuse. This final blow-up is quite hilarious. Each time he got pissed at the officials because he wasn't given a white towel.
I got frustrated. Can I not get frustrated? Do you get frustrated? Are you at peace in your life?
After Nickkyrgios' embarrassing first-round elimination from the Rogers Cup, the Australian star lost his cool and yelled at the referee while holding a towel. Because Kyrgios insisted on using a white towel instead of a branded one, umpire Adel Noor spent much of the opening set fighting with him. The conversation he had with the umpire was truly outrageous. According to Fox Sports, a fuming Kyrgios demanded to know, "I just want to know why it took you so long to get a white towel." He then said, "You're genuinely telling me you couldn't radio. Hey, physio room, can I get one white towel?" 20 minutes later, the ref had enough, and the Aussie got a code violation for obscenity. And that's all from me, Nickkyrgios' biggest blow-ups.
Yeah, it just came out flat. Physically didn't feel great, and then I ended up feeling great towards the end of the match. Yeah, I'm obviously devastated.